Hi everybody, this is Lonnie again. Today I want to talk about drugs and the way that we use them to fight anxiety. Um, the list is virtually endless. As I've said in some of my videos, and as you will see on any video that you see on YouTube, basically, is that we have dealt with this for all of our life. We've dealt with it for our whole life. And so probably in most cases at an early age we decided to do something to fight it. A friend of mine said this is the best of anything that I've ever heard. I'll take any feeling but this one. Anything that you have except for this one. And when you have this thing inside of you that makes you feel badly all the time, you will end up virtually having one focus, which is to feel better. If you had a headache, you would take an aspirin. If the aspirin didn't work, you might take a goody powder. If the goody powder didn't work, you may take a painkiller. But you would continue to search for something that would get rid of your headache. Now we have inside of us something that we have desperately searched to get rid of. We wanted to feel better. That's what we wanted. Any feeling but this one. So from an early age, basically, we have looked for something. And the problem is the solution. We are looking for a solution. And we will continue to look until we find something. But that turns us, in most cases, to the street to find drugs. Then you're looking at the benzodiazepines or diazepam, excuse me, which is correct, I'm not sure. Valium, Klonopin, Ativan, Xanax, marijuana, alcohol, and God help us all, heroin, crack cocaine. All of these things, and each person will in turn find the one thing that makes them feel better, that takes this feeling away. Now, unfortunately, all of the drugs that I've just mentioned, prescription and street drugs, all have side effects. In my particular case, marijuana works the best. And if it were legal, I would probably smoke it every day. It works the best for me. But there again, it's got side effects. It works best for me, but it doesn't work best for the people around me. I become lethargic, and there are, well, obvious side effects from this. Alcohol, the easiest to get, and probably the most widely used drug to self-medicate treatable mental disorders. But the side effects of alcohol are absolutely horrendous. It will work, but it only works for just to take the edge off, and then by the end of the day, we're just drunks. There's nothing special about us. The anxiety takes a back seat to the alcohol, because the alcohol is causing such tremendous problems that it's self-perpetuating. You become anxious. Then you drink to cure the anxiousness. And then you go out and do something stupid, so it makes you feel bad, and you're depressed, and you become more anxious. And it's crack cocaine is probably the single worst drug to ever exist on the planet. It only lasts for a few minutes. Most people, it jacks up, and I believe that there's a two-sided, that crack has two sides. You have the cocaine itself has an effect on your body, but some people, it affects them differently. It affects something in their mind, and then they become addicted virtually instantaneously. And you just don't never know if you are a type of person who's going to smoke crack and take it or leave it type of person, or someone who's going to smoke crack and just be jammed forever. You don't know that until you take that hit, so there's a risk you got to take. But I do know people who smoke crack cocaine to calm their anxiety. I mean, that is a paradox in and of itself because of the nature of cocaine. Heroin. My God, I hope that you, I don't know if you guys know people who do heroin, but it is, it's the death drug. The people who use it know that it's killing them, and they don't care. The sickness that they get, see, later, it may calm the anxiety, but the side effects and the physical addiction of heroin are almost they're almost guaranteed that you're going to have physical symptoms from that. Of course, then you can go to your local doctor. You can get your Xanax, things that I mentioned earlier. But we all have looked for and searched for something that will make us feel different than what we feel right now. And as I said, we will generally find it. It's a very difficult transition to go from the street drugs that you're using to the prescription drugs that they have. Another problem with this is the anxiety itself and the depression. If they don't give you something that works as good as what you're using, then the desire to use is going to be there, and you're going to use again. But you've got to, by the time you reach this, by the time that you've gotten to this stage, now I know some people who are young people who have felt these effects, or that are using drugs, but most of us old guys, man, we've been using them for years and years. And when we try to switch from something to the other, there's two things that happen. You are self-medicating the anxiety, but then the drug that you're using is causing problems in your life. You do say things that you are ashamed of, and that causes guilt, and the guilt causes anxiety. But then you have to learn, you get to a point where it's not only the anxiety that you're trying to cover, it's the things that you did while you were using the drug that you used to try to cope with the anxiety. And that's the difficult part. That is the difficult part, to quit using the drug that you're using long enough to let these things in your mind come forward. Now that you have to deal with these things that you've done, and then you have to deal with these things that you've done before you can address the anxiety problem. My advice to anyone that's listening, if you're not using some street type of drug now, for God's sake, do not start. Seek help now while you can. And for those of us, the rest of you guys out there that already have been, you got a tough road ahead of you. Now, that's a straight up line. That is the bottom line. You have got a tough road ahead of you. But you can't live like this. You cannot live like this no more. You can't live like this no more. So there's something that's got to happen. And I use the analogy of, if you're running from something, and it's right behind you, and at some point what you have to do is just stop and brace yourself and wait for it to all just come rushing around you. Then you stand still, don't use, and deal with these issues that you have been avoiding. Most of them are not as bad as you think. And that's really the strange thing. They're really not as bad as you think. When you actually face the dragon, he's not anything like you thought he would be. And once you deal with those, then you can deal with the anxiety. Then you can get back on with your life. And life here is all that we're talking about. That's all it boils down to. Life. Life and living rather than surviving. This video has run long, so I'm going to stop it kind of point blank. Keep the faith, guys. Hang in.